my name is Paul Miller. I am a writer, a professional writer. I am a veteran of the stage, of the West End, way back when. And I've wandered into the, well, more than wandered, camped in the world of corporate training and consultancy. And I work extensively with people around presentation, around communication, around influence, around expression. So I come and see David McCready. And I've known David for many years, and I've come here many times. And how would you explain what it is that happens in these one-to-one sessions in this tower in the centre of London in the city with David McCready? And I'm going to kind of make it simple for you, because it is fairly simple once you get it. I generally come through the door quite heavy, quite intense, quite full of lots of business and struggles in my brain. And very, very quickly, two things happen. I'm laughing and I'm lighter. Now, this is the bit, if you're not used to kind of reflecting on how you feel in your body, then you might, this will be a bit strange. If you are, it won't. Straight away, you feel lighter. It's just not an idea. You actually feel lighter. So weight, how much you weigh, is less. I mean, that's the kind of lighter we're talking about. Is that I would imagine after a session with Dave, if I went on the scales, I'd probably weigh about 1.5 stone, and I came in and I weighed about half a ton. So that's not literally what happens, but that's what it feels like. So there's that element. And the other thing that happens along with the lightness is the laughter and the comedy. So if you're watching from the outside, I'd imagine you'd think, my goodness, these people are having a good time, and they seem to have a wonderful ability to be able to laugh about themselves. And, that's a little bit of an in-joke once you know what, David's up to, because that's the whole point, is this ability to realise that we're much, much more than what we think we are. So I come in with a very clear idea about who I am, and it's very set and it's very firm. And very soon, after lots of laughter and lots of lightness, it's very clear that I've been making up this silly story in my head, and I've been believing it. And the more I believe it, the more true it becomes. So that's one way of describing what David does, or what we do together. Another way of describing it would be that software. Unbeknown to ourselves, we're running a type of software. We're running Sad Paul 2.1, Clever Paul 3.6. I Have Been Betrayed 4.2. All this software we're running all the time. We're not aware of it because we think that's just us. So I come in and all these things are real. And I've no idea that just like on my desktop, if I double click it, it will open up into all this stuff. So David's kind of rather like a software, helps you design your own software, or gives you a software upgrade. And the first thing that you become very aware of is you have an experience of that you are running this software, which, quite frankly, is either, if you're listening to this, either sounds mad and you'll turn off and go, good Lord, what's he on about? Or you'll go, oh my God, which is kind of what happens when you sit with David. You sort of go, oh my God, why didn't they tell me this at school? Why didn't my parents know this? Right? Whilst they were busily running, not giving me a love 3.1. Etc. So there's that aspect. And this awareness, this ability to be able to not just think it, which doesn't do it, you see, but to experience it is the key to what's happened. I could go on. What else is it like? Let's give you another example. Okay, it's like this. It's like you're looking for something and you think it's in your house. So you turn your house upside down, go for all the cupboards, all the drawers, and it's an enormous enterprise to find something. Let's say you're looking for a key. And were this key important enough, you would go through the attic and you'd be obliged to go through the cellar. You'd be obliged to go through everywhere to find this key. And coming to David is a little bit like someone saying, have you thought of looking outside? And you realise that you could spend the rest of your life looking in the house for the key and never found it because it's not in the house. And it kind of, that's like a cosmic joke. And that's been my experience. And the kind of laughter comes when you find that the key's kind of, it's under the plant just outside the door. Kind of where you'd expect it to be if you knew where to look. That's a very delightful experience. That's another way of describing it. What else can I say? Well, there is a weird thing. I can describe it in a kind of what I would call a more kind of weird way, and that's this: is that there's a sudden feeling that not quite that your mind's been taken over, but that something's happened in the process of speaking to David for a few minutes and him asking a few simple questions. You do feel, I feel like more energy in my head. And if he asks you to, ask me to think about that's like, and my attention's turned towards it, then I suddenly when it's cool and it's light and I'm aware of all these things I wasn't aware of. And there is a funny sort of sense of, what are you doing to me there? Because I don't normally feel like this. And that for me is fun, actually. If you're not the sort of person that likes that kind of fun, then you won't be coming along. But for me, that's kind of like one of the delights, because it leaves you with a nice sort of a sweet puzzle when you're going home. What happened there? Why did I suddenly feel like that? But more than anything else, is David's explaining stuff that you ain't going to find easily anywhere. And that's my experience as someone who's studied Buddhism for about 20 years, knows about 6 or 7 different ways to meditate, yoga, and knows quite a bit about NLP, a master practitioner of NLP and how the mind works, and different therapies. So I'm not a stranger to people who work in the field of working with your mind and your personality. And I would say you'd have to walk a long way and do a lot of searching to find someone who has David's particular way of working with you and your mind and your personality. And it's so practical. I'm talking about the theory and trying to analogize, but actually it's very enjoyable and extremely practical. Like having a good coach. If you were, the aim is to run 100 meters, and sort of in David's company, I kind of suddenly realised that I run the 10 meters. Next thing you know, I'm careering across the, where they throw the javelin, the track and field, and he pulls me back, and then we do the next 10 meters, and it's kind of like that, and I have the sense that David kind of stops me and says, would it not be better to continue in the same direction if you wanted to achieve the 100 meters? And you kind of go, right, okay, thank you. And then, to continue that analogy, it's rather like someone just giving you tips, and you do get faster and you do get better. And it's kind of practical in that sense. Although, it's got nothing to do with running, nothing to do with athletics, and nothing to do with anything strenuous. But it does have that quality of somebody being able to just say the right thing at the right time. And it is fun because it's humorous. If you realise that you are stopping for a cup of tea every 10 yards in the 100 metres, and you've come with the issue, I can never quite make the 100 metres. Once you see yourself doing it, you just crack up with laughter. And you would say, give the advice you'd give yourself is, if you keep stopping for a cup of tea, if you keep stopping for a cup of tea every 10 yards, do you really think you're going to get to, run the time you want to run? And you answer your own questions. Now, here's the thing, and it's probably the most important thing is that we're all smarter than we really know we are. And we have moments in our life where suddenly, we have lots of moments actually, and rarely notice them, where this smart bit gets in. And, you know, you think quick, you act quick, you know things, you have insights, you're marvellously creative or whatever. And we're not really aware that there is a smarter part of us. And David very quickly puts you in touch with the smarter bit of yourself, which is great, because whilst the kind of the dunce is running the show, it's a little bit of a comedy because you're walking into walls and not realising it. You know, and for walls read, you know, relationships going wrong, you can't find the partner of your life, you think you're messing up your children, your career's not going right. Well, quite frankly, you know, in the world of David McCready and the work we do here, that's just the kind of like, that's probably not the best part of yourself running the show. And David is able to allow me anyway, to get in touch with the smarter part of myself, which is available all the time. And it's so much more simple than you would imagine, because it sounds like quite a thing, doesn't it? You know, that there's a higher, more powerful, better, more creative part of myself, a bigger, more real part of myself. And you'd imagine, and if you'd read enough psychology books, you would imagine that this is quite an enterprise, that this really is, you know, I'm going to go off and find the better part of myself, so I better prepare like a trip up Everest, and I need 6 months and a sponsor, and it takes weeks and months and years. But in actual fact, it's a damn sight easier than you'd imagine. And it's delightful to be able to experience that, you know, to have it accessible to you. Let me say that again in a different way, because I may not have said it clearly. So simply put, we all have a part of ourselves which is a lot smarter than we are most of the time. And I think we could also, I would say from my experience, we all really have had experiences of being that smarter part of ourselves. But it seems so rare, and we don't know how to access it. Where David, it shows you very, very simple, but very, very effective ways to become aware of the bigger, more real, smarter part of yourself. And then when the smarter part starts getting involved, it's a different game. You know, you realise that you've had a sort of 6-year-old driving this oil tanker, and you're kind of, you know, you keep wondering why it keeps bashing the harbour wall, and there's spillages and leakages, and then you kind of go, well, actually, wouldn't it be better if the captain drove the ship or flew the plane? That's my sense of it, and it's delightful. That's enough from me. You'll have to find out the rest for yourself.